Thousands of years ago, the ancient Greeks and Romans told a tragic story about a handsome wanderer named Narcissus. Unable to tear himself away from his own beautiful reflection in a river, he drowned. A simple white flower grew in the spot where he died, which we now call the Narcissus. Today, we toss his name around lightly, labeling colleagues, exes, and anyone engaging in casual self-promotion or selfie culture as a narcissist. Psychologists define narcissism through a distinct, measurable set of traits studied in clinical settings. To recognize the destructive behaviors in our lives, or even in ourselves, we have to locate exactly where healthy self-esteem ends and a toxic psychological spectrum begins. At its clinical baseline, narcissism is an inflated, grandiose self-image. These individuals genuinely believe they are smarter, more attractive, and inherently more important than everyone else, leading to a belief that they deserve special treatment. Psychologists divide everyday narcissism into two main camps, starting with grandiose narcissism. This is the most recognizable form. Grandiose narcissists are extroverted and dominant. They frequently chase positions of power, like political office or celebrity status, for the applause and authority rather than a desire to serve the public. Vulnerable narcissism represents the secondary category. These individuals might seem quiet and reserved, but they harbor an intensely entitled worldview and are easily slighted. Both types share a distinct behavioral pattern when their outsized self-view is threatened. They react with selfishness, dishonesty, or outright aggression. Whether it manifests as boisterous dominance or quiet entitlement, this everyday narcissism acts as a heavy suit of psychological armor. It protects the ego at the direct expense of those around them. When these behaviors intensify enough to derail a person's life, they cross into a clinical diagnosis. For about 1 to 2% of the adult population, these traits escalate into a formal disorder. This manual is the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which provides the clinical definition for narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. NPD creates a severe impairment of empathy. Other people are viewed as instruments for extracting attention and admiration rather than autonomous human beings. A parent with the disorder might view their child's accomplishments as a prop to validate their own status, for example, rather than nurturing the child's independent growth. Because their self-image must remain flawless, they often struggle to process reality. Anyone offering constructive feedback is usually told they are wrong or acting with malice. This creates a paradox where the sufferer feels perfectly fine, while those around them endure constant frustration and emotional exhaustion. This raises a difficult question. Are narcissists born, or does society create them? Twin studies show a strong genetic component to the disorder. While researchers are still identifying the specific genes involved, the biological foundation is clearly present. But environment pulls the trigger. Extreme parenting styles, like placing a child on an unearned pedestal or being overly cold and controlling, can activate these dormant narcissistic traits. Cultural forces play a role as well. In the United States, narcissistic traits have risen steadily since the 1970s, as communal focus gave way to the self-esteem movement and material wealth. While social media is a common target for blame, there is no clinical evidence that apps cause the disorder. They simply provide a highly visible tool for seeking the social status narcissists crave. Extreme narcissism is the result of a genetic spark ignited within a culture that increasingly rewards self-promotion over genuine human connection. If the condition is so deeply ingrained, can someone diagnosed with NPD actually improve? Psychotherapy and exercises aimed at practicing compassion can promote genuine care for others over time. However, this introduces a psychological catch-22. Meaningful improvement requires the patient to engage in honest self-reflection from an unflattering angle. Because the entire mental architecture of narcissism is built to avoid acknowledging flaws, the brain reflexively rejects the very reflection needed for recovery. By understanding narcissism as a clinical condition, we can better protect ourselves. True narcissists remain much like the figure in the ancient myth, trapped by their own reflection and cut off from the real world.